Hello. In today's video, we would like to talk about liberalism. Liberalism is an important ideology, is an important approach in political science. Liberalism actually emerged in 17th century Europe, right? The term actually comes from liber, that means liberty. The term got popularized by those Spanish constitution supporters when they used it for the first time and they called themselves as liberal. Let's talk about the three forms or three variants of liberalism. So first let's talk about negative liberalism, and the other one is of course positive liberalism and libertarianism. Let's talk about negative liberalism first. So negative liberalism is all about laissez-faire, the approach called laissez-faire, leave alone. That simply means leave alone. Okay, so negative liberalism was an approach which was inspired by John Locke, an important English philosopher, an important 17th century English philosopher. So he wrote two treatises of civil government in which he propounded the basic tenets of the ideology. Now we have got Montesquieu and Jeremy Bentham as the important advocates of this theory. Now let's talk about essence of negative liberalism, or what is the core factors by which this theory or this approach can be defined or could be understood. So negative liberalism actually considers man as rational actor. It considers a man as capable and masterless individual. It argues that all human beings are equal and free, and they are not under any external control. Okay, all individuals know their interests, they know for sure what suits them the most. They argue, the proponents of negative liberalism, they argue that society is a mere aggregate of freely existing individuals. Another important argument of neoliberalism is that state is a necessary evil. It is required to maintain law and order. State is an evil as its mere existence, according to negative liberals, endangers the rights and liberties of the individuals. The state, that is the reason that negative liberals argue, must leave individuals alone. Its job is to maintain law and order and enforce legal contracts. In terms of economics, negative liberalism supports free market economy based on demand and supply doctrine. In other words, it basically argues that the state should not interfere in the affairs of the market. Let market regulate itself, let market decide itself on the basis of demand and supply. Okay, this theory believes that state is just like a cricket umpire. It has to oversee the rules and regulations. It's not supposed to play the game itself. Okay, negative liberalism believes in the concept of natural rights. Now what are the natural rights? This is something very important. So natural rights are right to life, right to liberty, and right to property. Negative liberals, they argue that these rights are indispensable for human existence and development, and they should not be curtailed in any way. So this theory remained dominant till 1928 or 1930s, because the world saw great economic depression in late 1920s and early 1930s. Okay, this is the reason that it led to emergence of positive liberalism. So when negative liberalism was there, it led to creation of enormous wealth in the western world, but it also created inequalities in the society and gap between the rich and the poor. This is the reason that it was argued now time has come that in order to save democracy, in order to save capitalism, we need to move beyond negative liberalism, and we will have to, we'll have to adopt the approach called welfare state. We have to regulate the economy. If we don't regulate the economy, people who cannot take care of themselves will be left behind, and it will create problems. They may rise in revolt, they may feel frustrated. So these are the reasons, and the great economic depression that led to creation of the welfare state. And very important economist who actually argued about this was Keynes. We know J.M. Keynes, an economist who played a significant role in the creation of the welfare state. Okay. So let's talk about what are the two factors which actually contributed to the emergence of positive liberalism. So these two factors were democracy and Marxism. In 19th century, the world witnessed gradual proliferation of democracy with voting rights. When people got voting rights, they started questioning, the government. They demanded more and more rights for themselves. And what Marxism did, so Karl Marx for the first time actually diagnosed the ills of capitalism, and he says that capitalism breeds three things. One is inequality, concentration of wealth in few hands, and alienation. So this is the reason that actually made it attractive for the proletariat or the working class to actually develop class consciousness and to understand that they are being exploited by haves or by those people who own the means of production. Okay, now let's talk about another important argument of negative liberalism and positive liberalism. So negative liberalism advocated freedom from the state, but positive liberalism demanded freedom through the state. So positive liberalism understood the state as an instrument, as an important instrument which can be used in order to promote social welfare. Okay. Positive liberalism also believed in the regulation of economy. It also believed in progressive taxation so that resources could be redistributed among the people who are poor, marginalized, or people who are left behind. Okay. Let's talk about what are the problems of positive liberalism, because this is the phase that the world witnessed, positive liberalism till 1970s, and after 1970s world started moving in another direction called libertarianism or neoliberalism post 1970s, right? So what are the problems which led to emergence of neoliberalism? So the problems were very simple. So positive liberalism was all about state interference. And what is the problem with the state interference? It leads to industrial sickness, it leads to economic inefficiency, it leads to undermining of productivity, it leads to corruption, it leads to curtailment of civil liberties. This is the reason that Ronald Reagan, the American president, Margaret Thatcher, the first woman prime minister of UK, and an important economist called Frederick Hayek, or an important economist, I don't remember his real name. So these three influential personalities, they actually argued in favor of neoliberalism, right? So classical liberalism was reinvented into libertarianism or neoliberalism. So, what are the virtues or what are the characteristics of neoliberalism before we end this lecture? Let's talk about the attributes of neoliberalism. It believes in the worth or in the importance of the individuals. It believes in personal autonomy. It believes in a minimal and restricted state, a state which is restricted to only maintenance of law and order. We have got Nozick, an important political scientist who argued for the minimal state. We have got another political scientist, Oakeshott, who went to the extent of saying that government is there just to pursue peace and it has no other role to play in the society. Okay. So power should not be concentrated in the hands of the state in the name of promotion of social welfare or in the name of development. This is the last major argument of neoliberals or neoliberalism. So in this video we started with negative liberalism. It's all about free market economy. Individuals are free to do whatever they want to do. And positive liberalism is all about regulation of economy. State should be there to regulate the economy, to redistribute the resources, to impose progressive taxation. And when positive liberalism was a dominant theory in 40s, 50s and 60s and early 1970s, it was realized that it's leading to industrial sickness, it's leading to inefficiency. Then three important personalities, Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan and an economist, they came together and they argued that now it's right time to move beyond positive liberalism. So then came the era of neoliberalism, and neoliberalism is all about competition. Let market remain a free territory where demand and supply should rule the roost, and state will be there but it will be promoting the business interests. It will not put maximum taxation on business enterprises. So it will lead to further promotion or further development of business enterprises. This is how we can understand neoliberalism. Thank you very much.